Hey guys, welcome to our university call. And usually you see me at 9 p.m., but we've changed the call time to 12 noon. And we're going to be doing this from here on out for all the university calls. So I think it's going to be something that allows a lot of you on your lunch hour to be able to join us on these calls. You know, schedule them on your calendar. Angie has sent the call schedule out to everyone via email. And so I think it's a good opportunity for you guys to brown bag it maybe that day, and maybe schedule nap time for your kids, etc. So I'm really excited about this new time, and it just gives everybody, you know, a little more of the opportunity to join. Oh, hey, Jan. Good morning to you. It's not morning here, but good morning to you. We'll wait a few minutes and get you guys in your seat. I'm really excited about this series because I think a lot of times the strength, the intention that you bring into your parties, your events, your shows, your themes, I think that really resonates with you being a business owner. I mean, if you think about the brick and mortars, they all, you know, have to choose the floor plan, they have to choose the color scheme, and we're very blessed by the fact that we simply choose, you know, what we're going to share. And it's really us coming in there as an ambassador for Lemongrass Spa and the things that we believe in and being able to share them with others. Hey, Jen. Hey, Loretta. Jackie, I'm going to wait for just a minute and get everybody in their seat. And I'm really, again, really excited about this time change, and I hope you guys can find time to join us also. Hillary's actually going to be one of our guest speakers on Thursday. On Thursday, we're going to be talking about bookings. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, you know, we're going to go ahead and just wait another minute and get everybody to be into their seats. Aw, thanks for the thumbs up, although I like the hearts. But that's okay, thumbs up are good also. I'll take any type of recognition that you guys are here joining us. All right, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and see what time it is. Let me get here, because I want to give everybody a chance to get in. 12:02, I'll just wait one more minute. Oops. Hope you guys have had a wonderful holiday. We were busy, much more so than I thought. Love that you guys are chatting back and forth. That's so great. Yep. Oh, good morning, Miss Thing. Hey, Cam. Good morning to you. Actually, here it's afternoon, so good afternoon to you. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get started. You know what? I want to ask you guys something. Before you leave the house to go to a party, go to an event, look in the mirror, and I want you guys to ask yourself, would I hire me? Because a lot of times what we probably don't realize is when someone has decided to book with you, it's because they're hiring you. Because they've had a chance to meet you in the very beginning when the doorbell rang and you helped the host greet her friends. And they also then have the opportunity to realize the value that you add, the fact that you're not selling, that you are offering solutions. And then they have the opportunity to hear what you're offering their friends. And so today we're going to really be talking about that connection. Hey, Deborah. Nice to have you join us. Hey, Emma. Happy New Year to you too. Yeah. Okay, so again, before you leave the house, I want you to look in the mirror and say, would I hire me? Now, one of the things that I want to make sure you guys are feeling, and that's why I think Laurie's training was so powerful on Saturday, is the fact that we should not be selling. Selling products, booking parties, even sponsoring, even adding new team members to our team. You know, again, it's not selling those things. That's not our job, really. Our job is to build relationships. And when people feel valued by you because of the interaction with you and the time that you take to get to know them and ask the right questions, they're more likely to buy from you. They're definitely going to take a closer look at referring you, at booking, which is again interviewing and hiring you, and they certainly would choose you to build their businesses. So it's really all about the relationships, guys, and your job, our job, my job is to build them from the first interaction that you have with people. So I want you to think about the next time you are going to head into somebody's home to do a home-based event. Stop and ask yourself, why are you there? And make a list perhaps of 3 things that you can do that night to increase your relationship, building the skills with the people there. Now, you've got to remember that you got to ask a lot of questions. You're the roving reporter. Remember, it's not about me for the next 24 hours, for the next 3 to 4 hours, however long you're there, 3 hours, let's say. It's not about us. It's about the host who has extended an invitation to you, which is one of the greatest compliments we could ever receive. She said to you, I want you to come into my home. I want you to meet my friends. I want you to meet my family. I want to show you off. I want to brag about you. And that's why it's just really so important that we do take a closer look at what we do, even preparing for that party. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let me go ahead and finish that. So again, you want to ask yourself, 3 things that you can do to increase that relationship, those building skills with the people there. Now, prepping for the party, we're going to talk about that first. Before I actually get into packing your tote bag, I want you to make sure that you've listened to my host coaching call that I did last week, because you really want to consider yourself partnering with your host and becoming a host counselor. I mean, think about the word counselor. You've been a camp counselor at times. You know that what your job is to counsel and to guide and to leave that individual, that host, with just a perfect experience where you can remind her of that when you go back to her, but most importantly, she's going to share that experience with her friends. So it all starts, every single thing starts with coaching or partnering with your host. With that comes more friends, it comes more sales, more bookings, and of course, more recruits. Now remember, as I mentioned in that host call that I did, life happens. So you have to make sure you are keeping your host tied to you. It's like you're Velcro to her from the time she books her party with you, leading up to the time that you spend with her at her home, and really afterwards also. Because, your host, they love the products, but guess what? They booked with you. So again, going back to that host class that I taught, when checking in, don't always make it about the party. Social media, oh my goodness, it allows us to know so much about our host without even interviewing her. You will be able to discover a lot of things that are going on in her life just by the fact that you friend requested her and that you are following her on Facebook and you are commenting, you are and you are tagging her when you see something that you really want to call her attention to, yes, on her timeline. I also had recommended that you provide incentives for your host on things that she can do easily. So stay away from, if you have a $500 party, this is what I'm going to do. She doesn't know how to have a $500 party. Her job, especially in the beginning when the two of you partner, is to make that guest list. Really, to make sure that no one is left out. So when you want to provide an incentive for your host, think about that incentive, but with a guest that she can bring her friends, right? So again, in my training, I encouraged you to provide an incentive where she has buying guests. Now, whether that's 8, whether that's 10, that's really up to you. But again, when she has those amount at the party, now this is buying guests at the party, make sure you're very clear, because you'll have a mom bring a baby and say, this is my guest. Have you guys all experienced that in the past? I sure did. So I always had to say buying guests. When you have 10 buying guests, you get this. Now again, giving away a product to get 10 buying guests, that's a gold nugget. That is a gold mine for you. Because you need people, right? You need people, because then you'll get sales, and then you'll get recruits, and then you'll get bookings. And guess what? Your host, she controls that part of the party. You control the sales, she can't, so she controls the people. All right, so I just want to make sure that I refresh your memory about that host class, and make sure that you're going back and you're revisiting it, and you are listening and you are taking notes, because that's the first step in your business for sure. All right, so let's talk about your tote. When you pack your tote. Now, a couple things I want to make sure that you guys are aware of is that tote, packing that tote, represents what you're expecting from that party. How you're preparing is it's a mindset, it's an attitude. So I always say this: when you guys have talked to your host and she tells you how many people she's expecting. Now, it's not how many she's invited, and sometimes that can be a little bit of a word choice problem, because you might say, how many did you invite? When in fact you want to say to her, how many yeses have we gotten? And then again, those yeses are how many individuals that she's expecting, plus friends that they're bringing, because you are going to encourage her to give permission to her friends to bring a friend. Now, when you pack your tote, it has to have enough catalogs, enough lap boards, enough order forms, enough wish lists, and enough think about it packets, and enough host packets. And you need to make sure that when you think about how many people she's expecting, plus friends, that you pack enough of all of those things, all of the above. Because the worst case scenario is that you only pack 5 catalog packets, or 5 host packets, or give 5 think about it packets. And all of a sudden, it's a flurry of activity where you have 7 people wanting to do a party, or 7 people wanting to have a think about it packet. So you want to make sure that as you are packing your tote, you're intentionally saying, she's expecting 10, I'm getting 10 bookings. Now, some of those bookings could be catalog parties, some of them can be in-home parties, but mentally, you've got to be thinking this could happen, because guess what? It could happen. Same thing with the Think About It packets. And we'll be getting into those later on into our training. And I'm going to say that's going to be on day Thursday. So on day Thursday, we're going to actually be talking about what a booking incentive, booking packets, Think About It packets. We'll be talking about that on Thursday. So again, so you want to make sure that your tote bag is properly packed. Again, thinking about what you're going to be expecting. And listen, if you don't expect it, it won't ever come, right? If you don't say this is what's going to happen, it will never happen. Now, we will also talk about the lap boards and the wish list. That'll come tomorrow, and I'll actually show you examples of your lap boards and your wish list. Okay, so back to that tote. A lot of times what you guys probably try to do is wing it. So I want to encourage you, as you are preparing for your party, your event, is that you create note cards. The number one reason I want you to have note cards is because they're for bookings. I mean, you're always going to get sales, guys. I know it's so easy to automatically shift your mind, or to not shift, is to have your mind thinking, I need to have sales. You will get sales. You could take those catalogs, you could take our catalog, and you could lay it on the coffee table, and I'll tell you, you'll get sales because everyone knows, for the most part, that the reason their friend invited them is to share the products that she's in love with. And of course, they know to bring their credit card, their checkbook, their cash, because they've been to direct sales parties in the past. So while you are going to focus on sales in our product presentation, which will be tomorrow, really the note cards is really to remind you about when to talk about the bookings. Listen, you guys only have so much energy to give this job, so you want to put your energy into the bookings. So, again, just take a product, take the note card and make yourself tags and reminders that these are booking products. Again, we will talk about what some of those products could be in our upcoming other training. All right, so we're finished packing your tote, and now you're at the party. And listen, your language reveals your intention. In other words, the words you choose say a lot about what you want. And it's interesting because a lot of us, we don't choose words that support what we want. So let me give you an example. You want a booking, so you might say, would you like to book a party with me? Now, think about that. Who's that about? It's about you. Book a party with me, right? It's about you. So you really haven't given that individual any indication that you know anything about her needs or her desires, that they're not important to you whatsoever. What she's might be interested in is not important to you. So without realizing it, the words you choose have essentially guaranteed that because it's about you, it's probably going to be a no. And again, as a consultant with indirect sales, our most important job is to build relationships. And we do that through conversations. I call them magic words. And the best way to build this really strong, positive relationship with another person is, again, through very supportive communication, which means they feel important and they feel heard. So let's talk about how are you connecting with these guests as they arrive prior to your presentation. So before you even start, what does that look like? What does that intentional part of your party, your event look like? So first of all, you want to make sure that you put listening ears on. The listening ears go into effect as soon as you walk in the door, as soon as you knock on the door and that host greets you. And you want to get there early enough to set up your demonstration table. And remember, we eat with our eyes, and people are hiring you, and your host is bragging on you. She's showing you off to her friends. So make sure that your products are clean, they're all wiped off. Make sure if it's a seasonal time of year, you might have a little, things that represent that time of season, just to kind of do a little pop of color. So again, the key is that you want to come in looking professional. And she watches you. And remember, your host is most likely your next consultant. So all during your journey of partnering with her, of counseling her, being her host, the counselor for the host, she is thinking when you invite her, I wonder if I could do this, right? And of course, everything leading up to that time before you sit down with her that night is confirming that you would be the one she would choose. And it's also confirming that if she would choose to join Lemongrass Spa. It's also confirming that she chose the right person to show off with her friends. So when you get there in plenty of time that you can set up your display. In fact, a lot of times what I would do is I would walk through the door and say, listen, I'm just going to take a few minutes to set up. If you have anything that you need to do, go ahead and do it. And then I'll help you set up the drinks and paper products and things like that. If she's rushed, if she's a little bit behind, that immediately sets her down into a mode of relaxation, and you truly are partnering with her for that event that she's that she's booked with you. So you want to make sure you set up your demonstration, and then set up an area in her home where you can be the order taker, where you are offering a full service checkout. You're being their valet, their personal shopper. And you want to make sure you have that someplace, because what's interesting is when you intentionally set that up, the next person that books from you, chances are when you walk in the door, she'll say to you, I've already got a station set, a place for you to set up, because I know you like to take orders at a different place than what you're doing your demonstration. You'll hear that host from when she's experienced it at the party she's attended and she books with you, she will have that station set up, and that tells you it was an important part of her experience, and she wants to have the experience for her friends when she brings you into her home, into her life. So again, get there early enough and have that relaxation for you and the host, because a lot of times what's going to happen is, as you talk to that host, she's going to uncover and help you discover who's showing up that night. And you can't do that with the doorbell ringing. You've got to be able to do that as you're setting up and she's setting up. And what I love is our skincare classes allow me to do hand spas. And so that gives me a chance, as I'm setting up the hand spa, to offer to treat her to a hand spa before her guests arrive. And that just elevates and brings into her experience more. It's a live experience for her. So when I go to do the hand spa, then I'm saying to her, Mary, tell everybody, let me use the word, use the host Sandy, because I like using that name for some reason as a host. So I'll say, Sandy, let's do a hand spa real quickly, and then when your friends walk in the door, we're going to be doing hand spas for them, and you can watch me, you can help me, you can share with them all the experience that you've just had. How does that sound? So again, that's why I love hand spas, is because it allows me to actually treat her while we're waiting for her guests to arrive. And then when the guests arrive, I'm finished setting up, we're greeting them together. So, all right. So let me go back to my notes. So it's all about the connection. So the connection starts as soon as you get there with the host, and then as soon as the doorbell rings, it starts. So let's talk about that language as your guests arrive, so you can connect with them and begin to build that all-important rapport, relationship, which I referred to earlier. All right. So if you're like most of us, we've all been taught to have open conversations with questions. So let me talk about or share some of the questions that I typically ask. And I think what happens is the guests at the party don't come there just for the products. I mean, that might be a surprise for some of you, but think about it. They can get the products from the catalog or the website. So why are they there? They're there to have fun. They're there to connect with the host and their friends, not to focus entirely on the products. So why don't we make the questions about them? And that way, they feel valued. And if you're a good listener, now remember, we've got our listener ears on, you learn some valuable information about them that might support you at the end of the evening in getting them to book an event or to look at the opportunity, a fundraiser, a bridal shower. So let's talk about some of those open-ended questions that you might think about asking as you're moving around among everyone. And by the way, I think it's important for me to kind of share with you right now is you want to be able to be that person that is, part of the group and not the consultant. So a lot of times when I was with Pampered Chef, we were taught, and I thought it was a great tip, not to put our apron on until we actually got ready to do our demonstration, our recipe demonstration. So you might want to reconsider wearing logo wear, because then you do stand out. You're kind of like a walking billboard that I'm consultant. So anyway, that's just something that you might want to consider. Okay, so let's talk about some of the questions that you might want to ask while you're mixing. And again, your antenna is in the up mode. There is a method to your madness. You're a roving reporter is what I call, and it's because you're gathering information, and you can do a recall later because it's been shared freely in a networking group with friends. So let's talk about some of the questions, and you want these open-ended so they can't say yes or no. So some of the questions would be, are you a neighbor? Or how do you know Sandy? How long have you lived here? Are you from this area? What do you do for your job? How many children do you have? This is a great one because then you'll find out if they're on the PTA, if their children play sports. I mean, oh my goodness, that just opens up. Everybody loves to talk about their kids. Do they go to school in the neighborhood? How was your day today? How was your day today? What did you do today? So these are relationship questions that really allow that individual that you're asking that question to be open, to know that you want to know more about her, that it is about her. So again, no matter what the answer is, it will always lead you to another question. So let's talk about, how do you know Sandy? Oh, we work together, right? Really? So what do you do? What do you do for a living? If you say, how do you know Sandy? Our kids go to school together. Really? How many kids do you have? So you notice that she answers the question, which gives you a chance to ask another question. And if she says, I don't know the host that came with Karen, really? Well, how do you know Karen? And again, this is the kind of conversation you want to be having before you even start the demonstration. You get the idea? Now you have the opportunity to engage Alice, that person that you were talking about, a conversation that matters to her work, her kids, etc. And again, how long have you worked there? You have 2 boys. What are they involved in? How old are they? How long, again, have you known Karen? How did you 2 meet? Literally, you want to get amnesia about your life at this point. It's not about you. You want to make it their job. It's your job to learn as much about them that you can. And it's interesting because I saw a quote as I'm preparing for this, and it said, being listened to is so close to being loved that most people can't tell the difference. I'm going to say that again. Being listened to is so close to being loved that most people can't tell the difference. So again, we want to make sure that we are good listeners. And the key is for everyone, as you're making this connection, for everyone to think that you're a friend at the party, not there as a consultant. And that's why if it were me, when I do my parties, I don't wear logo wear. I save that for when I'm out and about where I want to broadcast that I'm with Lemongrass Spa so that people can say, what is it? So again, my goal is by the time we're ready for the demonstration that they are like, oh, so you're the consultant? Because again, during the time that I'm connecting with them, the time you're connecting with them, you are one of them. And listen, your host is watching. And not only that, your next new team member, your next booking, your next VIP customer, they're remembering this time that you spent making that connection because you have taken the time to chit chat and get to know them. You don't want to be standing at your table, ready to set up. Again, you set up early, so when they get there, they aren't thinking and seeing you over at the table thinking, oh, she's over there ready to get her demonstration. You want to be able to get to know everyone. And that's how fun it is. That's how much fun it is during that part of that connection time. So again, the important thing is you pack your tote bag very intentionally. The important thing is you make that time to arrive early. And then you make that time to help your host and get to know her even a little bit more so than because remember, a lot of times you met her at the party, you may not have seen her again until the night she opens the door and has you walk in. And then you make the connection by going to the door with her friends. I have a funny story I want to end with, and then I'll talk to you about what's next. So I did a party, and the host and I connected, and I have to say something, and this isn't bragging, it's just what I have as, I think, as a gift. I want to impart that to each and every one of you, and that's relationship connection. I love to look at the spark plugs in a person's life and try to make the connection at that point where I meet them where they are. And then I take them into some place that I'm experienced with more than they are, and I take them on that journey with me. And that's why I love direct sales so much. Before, it was helping people feed their families with less time and healthier. Now it's teaching women and men and everyone how to choose healthier products. So reasonable without having to have a chemist's coat. So back to my story. So I had a host and we just really connected, and we always do. I mean, I have to tell you, there isn't one experience that I can't share with you that hasn't been just wonderful. Even the most difficult hosts can come out being someone that you can make an impact on their life, because chances are when somebody's unhappy, it's not with you, it's something else that's going on in their life. So you can bring that ray of sunshine and that hope to them that there are other people like you out there, and they can be looking for individuals like you. So this host and I were just having a great conversation and looking forward to the night of her party. I mean, she told me about her kids, and she told me about her husband, and she was going to school, etc. I mean, we just really connected. So I knocked on the door and she answered it, and as I walked in, and there was this little puppy, and the little dog walked in with me, and I'm setting up, and of course, I'm talking to the dog. I wanted to be, again, very personable, very accepting of her husband, her children, and her dog. I just felt like that's what I was there for. So as I'm setting up, I'm petting him and just, having fun with him and stuff like that. And she was really different. I mean, different than what she was on the phone, and different than what I remembered her at the party I met her at. I mean, it was a clear shift in our relationship, and I couldn't figure out why, but I had a party to do. I was going to be going live, so I couldn't spend a lot of time wondering why she was acting the way she was, but clearly she was upset with me. Something I did or something I said, when I walked in the door, and I didn't have a chance to ask her. So at the end of the demonstration, we sat down and I looked at her and I said, Sandy, obviously I've upset you. Something I did has made you, unhappy with me. Would you mind sharing what it is that you're upset with me about? And she said this, Kathy, I wish if you wanted to bring your dog with you, that you would have asked me beforehand. Well, I looked down at this little dog sitting down at my feet, and I said, that's not my dog. I said, I thought it was your dog. The dog came in with me. When we opened the door, the dog slipped in, and of course, because the dog was on the front porch when I got there, and she opened the door and the dog went in, and I went in with the dog, I assumed it was her dog. Well, because it wasn't her dog, she assumed it was my dog. And because the dog was sitting on the front porch beside my crates of stones and things like that, she assumed it was my dog. So she just, honestly, and because I thought it was her dog, I mean, I am like talking to this dog, like loving on this dog, like thinking it's the cutest dog ever, because I am a dog person. And because I was doing that, she was thinking it was my dog. And it never occurred to me that she never mentioned or said anything to the dog. Again, I knew something was wrong, and it kind of just, made me off a little bit. So she got tears in her eyes, and she hugged me and she said, Kathy, I am so sorry how I treated you. However, I was so upset that you would bring a dog into my house without asking me. And I mean, again, so what that goes to show you guys is any little thing, I mean, I could tell you more stories like that I did intentionally without being intentional. you learn through these experiences, but the most important thing I want to leave with you guys with today is that time before those guests arrive is really the commitment that you must give your host. And then when you go live, you must remember that everything you packed and put in that tote and prepared with your products has to do with how you are going to be viewed, where you're going to be interviewed. You are going to be hired for everyone that looks at you. And it all traces back to that host and how she felt about you, enough so that she wanted her friends to feel the same way about you. So I'm finished with the training today, and tomorrow's training is going to be on Showtime. Now, I'm going to share with you tomorrow how I introduce the host, how I make her feel special. A lot of times, all the time I bring her up front and center. When I was with Pampered Chef, we had a stainless steel whisk, and I'd actually use the whisk as a microphone. Yes, we had so much fun at my parties and cooking classes. And yet one thing that I recognize that I seem to fall into habit is after I interviewed and brought my host up and gave her her special seat wherever she wanted to sit, I never brought her back up. I never referenced her again. So I think it's important that we remember that host had favorite products. That host did the inviting. And yes, featuring her as the spotlight in the beginning is important, but it's also important to continually, maybe 2 or 3 more times, just say, Sandy, I know this is one of your favorite products. Or Sandy, I'm so excited. This group is so fun. So again, you want to make sure you refer back to her and help her feel as important as she is, because they're ambassadors. They're our ambassadors for our business. Now remember, the other thing is when you spotlight her and you love on her and you just give her, all the special feelings that she should be giving because of the fact that she's your host, other people in the room are watching this also. So again, you only have one chance to make a good impression, and you make it with all these little subtleties that I'm going to be sharing with you. So tomorrow is when the rubber meets the road. That's when we're going to actually talk about the actual party. And then on Thursday, we're going to be talking about bookings and recruiting and making sure that you do commercials and you have visuals for them. And then on Friday, we're going to wrap up with the full service checkout. That's where really the magic happens. I believe, for me, that was where I looked forward to the most, because a sale would close and a relationship would open. And I think you guys are going to be surprised, because I think at your full service checkout, you probably look at an order form, a sales receipt, and you feel a sense of accomplishment based on the amount of products that you see on that order form. And I think you're going to be surprised what I'm going to have you focus on. And sales is going to be the third thing on that list that we're going to focus on during our full service checkout. So again, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys every day this week at 12 noon, and we are going to make your 2018 and beyond party just sparkle. And I know a lot of what I'm teaching you will be able to use with your Facebook parties. However, at this point, it's really important for me to train you on the experience you give your host, her friends, your next team members, your next host in an environment that can't be matched anywhere else. All right, guys, let's see if we have any questions before we head off to have the rest of our day. Let's see what kind of questions. Okay. Oh, Joy, that is so sweet of you, Joy. Oh my gosh. She said she loves Kathy. She's so sweet. Oh, okay. April says I'm not bragging. I try not to. However, sometimes I'm afraid it does come across as bragging, and I try not to brag. I try really not to brag. Let me see. Kim, you are so welcome. You are so welcome. We'll have a lot of visuals starting tomorrow. There'll be a lot more visuals. But today I think it was really important that I grabbed your heart and did this. I squeezed it because that's really what I wanted to accomplish today, is that heart tug. All right, let's see. You know what, Deborah? I think name tags would be fun. Now, I have to tell you something. I just always had a hard time remembering all that. Name tags, host kits, catalog, in-home party kits, catalog kits, you know. So no, you know what, Deborah? I think name tags would be fun. But let me see this, and you'll see this tomorrow too. Since Deborah asked, let me answer her question or make a comment on her name tags. So first of all, name tags are fabulous. If you do a name tag, what you might want to think about doing is the first person or this first or second person that arrives, if they seem to be personable, get them to do the name tags for you, because they're going to be the early birds, right? They'll get there before it starts, you know, do their hand spa first and then ask them if they would do the name tags, because you don't want to be pulled away from the rest of those that have come in the door by doing name tags. Name tags is something that everybody can do. It doesn't take a lot of skill. And so yeah, I think name tags are fun, but think about having, you know, somebody that arrives early, you know, to do the name tags for you. They would love to do that. And then tuck her, announce that she did the name tags, call her up and give her a little gift in front of everybody because she did the name tags. So no, I love name tags. But however, since I don't do name tags, I will tell you that what I used to do is I used to say, tell me your name again. I know you're the one that had the 2 boys. Just tell me your name again. So remember, I was the roving reporter. I remembered she had 2 boys, but I didn't remember her name because again, I try to use all those tips and tricks and things like that. You know, Mary, I think about Mary Poppins. Sandy, I think about Grease. You know, but again, Grease the movie. But again, it's really kind of hard because you're meeting a lot of people, but I do remember scenarios, what they say. And I don't mind saying, remind me your name again. I don't mind doing that. So if you don't want to do name tags, just ask them their name again. Yeah. So, and sometimes I'll say to my host, Sandy, I want to say something to her. Tell me her name again. So she'll tell me somebody's name before we get started so I can go over to her and say, listen, I was part of the conversation that you said about blah, blah, blah. And before you leave today, can we talk about blah, blah, blah? So again, it could have been a fundraiser. It could have been a bridal shower. And again, you in the middle of that conversation, you don't want to say to her, oh, you're talking about bridal showers. We do bridal showers. Remember, you are part of the guest at that point. You're not the consultant. So you don't want to start, you know, announcing what business you do. So again, you might want to get to her later and say, Sharon, I just want to say to you, I overheard, you know, I was eavesdropping, I was part of the conversation, whatever you want to say about your daughter getting married. And gosh, I'd love to do a foot spa experience, maybe for her bridal shower. What does that sound like? So again, do you see what I'm saying? So again, I don't mind not having name tags. So, but Deborah, that's a great idea. Name tags are great. All right, let's see any other questions. New catalogs are in March. We're not talking about them because we're talking about January. These are January parties, January and February. Yep. All right. All right. Let's see if there's any other questions. Johnny, laundry day at the laundromat. I don't know. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. Say goodbye. I don't want to keep these so long that you guys can't go back and re-listen. Tag peeps. This is really for you guys. This is just so for you. And I'm so excited to be able to have these next 4 days to pour into you and get you ready for your upcoming in-home parties. All right, have a great rest of the day. Thank you guys so much for being with me. And, oh, there was a question? Oh, I'm sorry, Jackie. Where was the question? Let me see. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Hold on, let me scroll back and see a question. Oh, let me see. Okay, oh, hold on a second. I think somebody's asked. Oh, in the hostess packet. Why don't we talk about that tomorrow? We'll talk about, because yes, we will talk about that tomorrow. Hostess packet, that's a good question. Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow. In fact, yes, we'll do host packets, we'll do catalog packets, and we will do think about it packets. So we will do that tomorrow. Yes, perfect. Okay. All right, great. Perfect. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I've done a lot of training on host kits. I call them kits, but that has to come in here. So good for you, Jackie, that you called me on it. All right. So we will talk about that tomorrow. Host kits, catalog party kits, and we call them shows on the go. And we will talk about oh my gosh, we have so much to talk about tomorrow. But again, tomorrow's Wednesday, got Thursday, and we've got Friday. So we can overlap. We can overlap a little bit because I got 3 days left. That if you guys, hold me accountable. Make sure make sure these trainings are for you. So make sure I'm telling you what you need to know. Yep. All right. Oh, I love you too. Okay, guys, have a great rest of your day. And I'm so excited to be here with you every day. All right. Oh, yes, Jan, lap boards tomorrow for sure. And your wish list tomorrow for sure. Those are some of the visuals because we actually do introduce them to the guests tomorrow. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Great. Good. Keep, message me and make sure, or make sure I'm going to do it. Hold me accountable. Put these messages down here and I'll make sure I have everything covered before we end our last one on Friday. All right. Love you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Oh, don't forget tonight, take a look call tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern time. All right. Bye, guys.